I'd say the biggest impact, though, has been in the sales process. We definitely find that people that listen to the podcast and then get on the phone with us are much easier sells.
Hi, everyone. This is Kyle with the Podcast Factory, and I'm with Dan Barrett, founder of Adwords Nerds and host of the REI Marketing Nerds podcast. How are you, Dan?
Very well. Thank you very much.
What is your experience with podcasting? Have you ever done one before?
No, not really. I had a little bit of experience doing, podcast interviews and stuff before, and I had done kind of a podcast format thing with a friend of mine for a band I was in, but I'd never done a podcast that had been actually published in iTunes and that kind of thing. So this was our first official podcast.
How did you get connected with the Podcast Factory?
I met John in a business mastermind group that we were in, and he'd come very highly recommended by some other folks in the group. And, we met in person and just hit it off. And he's a very, very knowledgeable guy, and I knew I wanted to move into that space. So it was a good connection for us to make.
What sort of obstacles would have prevented you from buying his done-for-you podcast service?
I think when I met him, I said, I'm just going to hire you, so just tell me what it costs. So it was a fast decision. I knew we needed some more broadcast style marketing stuff. I'd been moving into starting a Facebook group. We were building out our blog, and we were really getting into content creation. I knew I wanted to do podcasting because I find it easier to talk than to type. I'd kind of already made that decision that I wanted to do that. And when I found out about Podcast Factory, just kind of taking all the difficult stuff off my plate, it was just kind of an easy call for us. I really didn't have to think about it very much.
And so what have you found now that you've been with Jonathan for a little while?
It's a great service. I think the process of getting the podcast set up is really useful. It really helps you dial in exactly what you're trying to say and to who. Really help you plot out what you want to be saying. So it's just enough structure to make it easy without kind of limiting what you can do. The process of being able to jump on the computer and just outline something, record my thoughts, and then kind of forget about it, to be honest, and have all the back end stuff taken care of has been really awesome. So yeah, I like it a lot. It lets me focus on what I want to do, which is talking about our service, talking about our industry. Not having to deal with all the back end stuff makes it a lot more possible for us, just schedule-wise. So yeah, it's awesome.
Is there a specific feature that you like most about the Podcast Factory's done-for-you service?
Honestly, the specific feature for me that I like is just the amount of support that I get. I can email, or Facebook message John or anybody on the team and know that I'm going to get a response really quickly. And they're just super capable, super competent. So, for someone like me that tends to lose the thread a lot because I've got a lot of different things going on, it's not something I have to worry about. I can just say hey, I know they've got it taken care of. So that's really what I like the most.
Jonathan has a different take on podcasting in many ways. His is more of a direct response type of podcast. What kind of results have you seen in your business because of it?
We've definitely seen downloads of the stuff that we offer. I'd say the biggest impact, though, has been in the sales process. We definitely find that people that listen to the podcast and then get on the phone with us are much easier sells. It's one of those things where we've started sending podcast episodes to people that are on the fence. We advertise podcast episodes to people that have been through our funnel. We know that if we can get them to listen to an episode or two, even if they don't subscribe or download the thing, if they then jump on the phone, they're much more indoctrinated into what we want, or they're much more likely to be open to working together. So it's been a high leverage thing for us that way. Yeah, it's been great.
So you feel like maybe it's giving you a little bit more authority in your marketplace?
I think so, yeah. My market specifically listens to a lot of podcasts, and brand recognition and authority in the marketplace is one of our long-term differentiators against competition. So having a podcast kind of puts us in the leagues of bigger folks in our industry. and isn't something that anybody else in our space is really doing that directly competes with us. So it's a big differentiator for sure.
If you could pick 3 other benefits about this done for you podcast service, what would you say?
For me, it really comes down to, one, it's an easy way of creating content, keeps me in front of our clients. They're hungry for content, and podcasting this way specifically is a really easy way to do that. I think otherwise it would be really labor intensive and wouldn't really help that much, but being able to do it quickly is huge. 2, it just expands our reach into a different channel altogether. We get in front of different people in our industry than we do, for example, on Facebook or whatever. I think the other piece is just having a really systematic way of addressing their objections. Like the way that Jonathan kind of leads you through creating a podcast is like you're sort of creating your ideal client as they go through that process. And so having a way of doing that in a really intimate way. I mean, the podcast is really intimate. You're hearing someone's voice, you hear the inflection, what they're saying. At least for me, I get very animated, and they're getting a lot of information about you and your personality and your brand in ways that they may not even be really aware of. So I think those have been pretty big benefits for us.
Would you recommend Jonathan and the Podcast Factory's Done For You service?
No. Yes, of course. Yeah, they're great, man. I mean, if someone wants to do a podcast, it's kind of a no-brainer because it allows you to just focus on doing what you do and takes all the other stuff off your plate in really, really easy and really thoughtful way. So yeah, I think it's been great.